You think your choices are your own, but most of what you do was never really yours to decide. You are not just a person making choices. You are also the latest vessel. In a genetic story billions of years old, there's a quiet force at work, shaping your desires, guiding your fears, even whispering into the way you love. And here's the part no one tells you. It isn't society. It isn't fate. It's something far more intimate and ancient. This is the lens Richard Dawkins offers in The Selfish Gene. And in this Beyond the Books breakdown, we'll uncover the silent logic driving every living thing at the heart of life. It isn't the individual. It isn't the species. It isn't even the dazzling tapestry of creatures we see around us. At the heart of life is the gene, a single, self-replicating molecule, carrying quiet instructions for building, maintaining, and protecting life. But here's something important. Genes do not think. They do not plan. They do not want. Selfish is a metaphor, a way of describing what survives by making copies of itself. Every living thing you've ever seen is a temporary strategy a gene wrote to keep itself alive. And when you adopt this lens, everything begins to make sense. Shift your perspective from the organism to the gene. Suddenly, evolution rewrites itself. Life stops looking like a gallery of heroic species battling for survival. It begins to resemble an endless drama of genetic information, fighting to remain in existence. Every bird you've heard in the early dawn, every salmon leaping upstream, every human being you've ever known becomes, in this light, a vessel, a survival machine, a living extension of a gene's long journey through time. Sit with that for a moment. The body you inhabit, the personality you claim as yours, the thoughts you guard like personal treasures. From a gene's eye view, they are tools, not consciously designed, not intentionally planned, but shaped, filtered, and preserved by countless rounds of survival, a collection of levers and instincts that helped microscopic sequences of code continue their story. This is the essence of the selfish gene. But to truly feel it, we need to peel back the layers of time. Picture the very beginning, before trees, before birds, before anything with eyes to see or lungs to breathe. Just the raw, restless oceans of early Earth, silent, waiting. And then, somewhere in that primordial soup, a molecule appears, a molecule capable of copying itself, the first replicator. Its copies are clumsy, some break, some twist into uselessness, but a few survive. And survival. That is the first whisper of a story. The moment a molecule can replicate, natural selection wakes up. Some copies last longer than others. Some make more copies than others. And slowly, across stretches of time almost beyond imagination, the better survivors become the ancestors of everything. Fast forward hundreds of millions of years. These replicators, genes, have learned a remarkable trick. They can build survival machines, flesh and bone, eyes and wings, hands and hearts, all of it. Constructed to give the gene one gift: a longer life through successful replication. You, right now, are a walking collection of strategies that worked. Your body is a rented vehicle. Your genes are the ones holding the title. Most people imagine evolution at the level of species. They picture species battling for dominance. The strongest species survives. But that's only the surface. Species are like clouds, temporary shapes forming and dissolving in the wind. The real battle is written in the microscopic language of the gene, and through that lens, behaviors that once made no sense suddenly reveal their logic. Consider the small bird that cries a warning when a hawk appears, exposing itself to danger. Why risk its life? From the bird's perspective, it looks like courage. From the gene's perspective, it's strategy. Its relatives in the flock share the same genes. If they survive because of its warning, the gene survives, even if the bird does not. This is kin selection. Altruism. That isn't truly selfless. Even sacrifice can be a gene protecting its reflection in another body. And here's the part we rarely admit. This gene-centered story doesn't just explain animals. It explains us, our morality, our generosity, our quarrels and alliances, even the way we shape society. Take kindness. We love to think of generosity as pure, noble, and free of self-interest. But the patterns are there if you look. We're most generous to family, often generous to friends and allies, far more guarded, sometimes hostile toward strangers. From the gene's perspective, the logic is perfect. Protect those who carry your code, or those who can help you pass it on. But let's look deeper. If genes are selfish, why does cooperation exist at all? Why aren't we all solitary predators? Because for a gene to endure, brutality isn't always the winning move. Sometimes the ancient calculation favors a body that behaves kindly. A bee that dies defending its hive appears to be the saint of the insect world. But her hive is full of sisters. Sisters carrying the same instructions. Her sacrifice is not a loss to the gene. It's an investment in continuity. And when this sinks in, the world looks different. Ecosystems, tribes, alliances and rivalries, predator and prey, love and betrayal, all of it falls into place as the choreography of self-replicating information. But the strategies grow more subtle. Some genes learn to play the long game, build organisms capable of trust, of empathy, of forming social contracts. Look at vampire bats. They share blood meals with non-relatives. A bat that eats tonight may feed a starving neighbor. Why? Because the favor is often returned. A bat that gives today is saved tomorrow. The gene sees the long horizon. Invest in cooperation now. Harvest survival later. Once genes found the power of cooperation, they began to write even more intricate scripts. Human culture itself, our laws, our stories, our sense of right and wrong, is an echo of that script. We punish betrayal. We reward generosity. We create stable, predictable environments where the molecules in our cells can quietly continue their work. Morality is often the gene teaching us how to behave, so it can persist. But then, Dawkins takes the idea one step further. If genes replicate through bodies, what replicates through minds? Ideas, beliefs, melodies, slogans, rituals, stories. Dawkins called these cultural replicators. Memes, not just internet jokes, but units of culture that survive by being copied. A gene spreads by moving through bodies. A meme spreads by moving through minds. Think about it. A song gets stuck in your head. A phrase becomes part of your language. A belief passes from parent to child. A tradition survives long after the people who began it are gone. These are not genes, but they behave like replicators. They compete for attention. They mutate as they spread. They survive when people repeat them. And suddenly, culture looks different. Not just as something we create, but as something that also uses us to keep itself alive. Ideas, like genes, survive by finding hosts willing to carry them forward. This is why the book is so unsettling. It doesn't only ask, "What are your instincts doing?" It asks, "What ideas are using you?" The opinions you defend, the trends you repeat, the stories you call your identity. Are they truly yours? Or are they memes that learned how to survive inside your mind? Once you see this, you start noticing the double inheritance. Biology gives you instincts, culture gives you scripts, and both can guide you before you ever realize you are being guided. But there's a twist. Genes are blind. Memes are blind too. They are not wise, they are not kind. They simply endure. And sometimes the strategies that once saved us now harm us. Our craving for sugar and fat, once a survival gift. Today, it slowly kills us. Our tribal instincts, once a shield against danger. Now they fracture communities, fuel prejudice, and spark wars in a hyper-connected world. And our cultural memes, our slogans, status games, and borrowed identities can spread faster than wisdom can catch them. Ancient strategies can become modern traps. And this is where real freedom begins. Understanding the selfish gene doesn't chain you. It hands you the map. You see the urges, the fears, the impulses for what they are. Not destiny, not deep truth, just inherited strategies, written for a world that no longer exists. And you see ideas differently too. Not every thought that enters your mind deserves to become your identity. Not every cultural script deserves your obedience. When you see the script, you can choose to edit it. Here is the final picture. Genes create bodies. Bodies create behavior. Behavior creates culture. Culture creates memes. Memes shape minds. And minds loop back, changing how life continues into the future. A dance of information, moving silently through time. Life is not a chain of accidents. It is a single sentence, written and rewritten by genes and ideas determined not to end. And when you see this, life feels clearer, not chaotic, not meaningless, but an unbroken story, told in the language of replication. This is the lens of the selfish gene, a lens that reshapes how we see nature, other people, culture, and the quiet, ancient currents that shape what it means to be alive. What you just heard isn't only about genes, it's about choice, because the moment you see how much of life runs on instinct and how many ideas spread through you without permission, you also see the rare power of deciding when not to obey. Right now, write down one instinct or idea you've been following without question, and beside it, one deliberate action you'll take instead today. That single shift is the first moment you step off autopilot and start living as the author of your own evolution. Comment override if you're ready to stop living on autopilot. Like this video, subscribe to Beyond the Books. And if there's a book you want to see decoded next, let us know below. This is Beyond the Books, where knowing becomes becoming.